Sri Maitreya said, "Thus Devahuti, the mother of Lord Kapila and wife of Kardama Muni, became freed from all ignorance concerning devotional service and transcendental knowledge. She offered her obeisances unto the Lord, the author of the basic principles of the Sankhya system of philosophy, which is the background of liberation, and she satisfied him with the following verses of prayer." So this chapter is titled as Activities of Lord Kapila, Activities of Kapila. And the introduction of the activities of the Lord are given by as the propounder of the Sankhya system of philosophy. By learning this philosophy, by understanding this philosophy, Mother Devahuti, she became freed from all ignorance concerning devotional service and transcendental knowledge. So, what Lord Kapila did, what Lord Kapila spoke, is mentioned here. What is the characteristic of his philosophy? What is the result of his philosophy? All are covered in the same verse. So, characteristic is it is the basic principle of or the background of liberation. Result is one becomes freed from material entanglement even while living in this body, within this life itself. That is called Jivan Mukta. So, in Bhagavad Gita, Jivan Mukta is explained in 14th chapter. So, Lord says exactly the same thing is spoken by Lord when he explains the three modes of material nature. When you see that there is nothing beyond these modes of nature in all activities, and that the Supreme Lord is transcendental to these modes, then you can know my spiritual nature. The 14th chapter is titled as the three modes of material nature. So Lord Krishna is saying, when you see that there is nothing beyond these modes of nature in all activities, and that the Supreme Lord is transcendental to these modes, then you can know my spiritual nature. Then next verse Lord says, when the embodied being is able to transcend these three modes, he can become free from birth, death, old age and their distresses, and can enjoy nectar even in this life. So while being in this body, one can become liberated. So liberation means becoming free from the effects of three modes. Liberation also means becoming free from all the karmic reactions, right? A person engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad activities even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the perfection of all work. In 2.50, Lord explains Yoga Karmasu Kaushalam means within this life only you become free from all karmic reactions. In second chapter, in 14th chapter, Lord explains liberation means freedom from the bondage of three modes and surrender to Krishna. So, Sankhya philosophy, it explains, Sankhya philosophy, it describes the position of living entity, the position of Supreme Lord, and the relationship between these three with the position of living entity in the material nature, the position of Supreme Lord, and the relationship between these three. So, in 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, nature, enjoyer, and consciousness. This chapter describes these three things. One who understands. Now, 13th chapter, 13th chapter, Lord is talking about Jnana Chakshu. Jnana Chakshu means the vision of knowledge. So, vision of knowledge means knowing three things. What are the three things? How Lord defines knowledge in 13th chapter. O son of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower in all bodies. And thus, to understand this body and its owner is called knowledge. That is my opinion. So, Lord is explaining knowledge means to understand three things. What are three things? The body, the knower of the body. So, knower of the body are two, soul and super soul. Both are knower of the bodies. So, Srila Prabhupada explains, while discussing the subject of this body and the owner of the body, the soul and the super soul, we shall find three different topics of study: the Lord, the living entity, and the matter. So, three things are discussed: body, which is made of material elements, so that is material nature; knower of the body is the soul, and there is one super knower of the body, which is the super soul. Study of these three, proper understanding of these three is called as Sankhya. Now, in this chapter, 13th chapter, Lord explains the interconnection between these three. What is the connection between Jiva and material nature? What is the connection between Jiva and the Supreme Lord? What is the connection between Supreme Lord and material nature? So, there is a triangle, and Lord is explaining all these three in the triangle. This is what forms the basis of this entire third canto spoken by Lord Kapila. So, Lord Kapila is describing the living entity in the material nature, the living entity's connection with the Supreme Lord, and the supreme dominion of Supreme Lord over material nature. Now, very interestingly, in the purport of this 13.3, Srila Prabhupada explains, the material world, which is the field of activities, is nature, and the enjoyer of nature is the living entity, and above them both is the supreme controller, the supreme personality of Godhead. It is stated in the Vedic language, Bhokta Bhogyam Priritaram Chamatva Sarvam Proktam Trividam Brahmam Etat. There are three Brahman conceptions. Now, the scriptures, Vedic scriptures, they tell there are three Brahman. What are the three Brahman? Prakriti is Brahman as the field of activities. Prakriti is also, material nature is also known as Brahman. Okay. So that Lord explains in 14th chapter that I impregnate this Brahman. So what is that Brahman Lord is talking about? That is material nature. So in Bhagavad Gita, Prakriti is also spoken of as Brahman. The total material substance called Brahman is the source of birth, and it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the births of all living beings, O son of Bharata. So one Brahman is material nature is also called as Brahman in Bhagavad Gita. Okay, that is in 14.3. Then second Brahman is Prakriti is Brahman as a field of activities. The Jiva individual soul is also Brahman. Okay, soul is also called as Brahman. So where is soul called as Brahman? In 8th chapter. Okay, the indestructible, imperishable soul is called as Brahman. 8.3 Lord gives definition of soul as Brahman. The Supreme Lord said, the indestructible, transcendental living entity is called Brahman. So in Bhagavad Gita, Prakriti is called as Brahman, soul is called as Brahman. The Supreme Lord is also called as Brahman. Now the third, Jiva is also Brahman and is trying to control the material nature. And the controller of both of them means Prakriti Brahman and Jiva Brahman are controlled by the third Brahman, which is the Supreme Lord. The controller of both of them is also Brahman, but he is the factual controller. Param Brahma, Param Dham, Arjun says to Lord Krishna. So in Bhagavad Gita, all three are described as Brahman, and this is what the Vedic literatures also say. Now, understanding the relationship between these three is called as the Sankhya philosophy, which Lord Kapila has explained. Right. So, how this relationship is established between the three is given in 13th chapter again further. So, first Lord says, the super soul is the original source of all senses. Yet he is without senses, he is unattached, although he is the maintainer of all living beings. So, the relationship between Supreme Lord and living entities established. He is the maintainer of all living entities. He transcends the modes of nature, and at the same time, he is the master of all modes of material nature. So, Supreme Lord is maintainer and controller of living entities. Also, he is master of the three modes. So, he is above the two Brahmans. Okay? So, this is how their connection is established. What is the connection between Jiva and material nature? Now, Lord further says how Jiva is connected to material nature. Nature is said to be the cause of all material activities and effects, whereas the living entity is the cause of various sufferings and enjoyment in this world. The living entity in the material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with the material nature. He meets with good and evil amongst various species. So here Lord says, what is the relationship between Jiva and the material nature? Jiva is trapped in the three modes of material nature. Right? So Jiva is engaged with three modes, forgetting the Supreme Master, Supreme Lord. So there is another verse which talks about relationship between Supreme Lord and Jiva, that is Updashta Anumanta cha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara Paramatmedi Chapyukto Dehasmin Purusha Para. In this body there is a Param Purusha, which is called as Paramatma Iti cha Apyukta. He is the Maheshwara. So Jiva has forgotten his connection with the Supreme Lord, the Maheshwara. So instead of serving the Supreme Lord, he is engaged in the activities of three modes. So Jiva has to come to this consciousness that above me there is a Supreme Lord, above this material nature there is a Supreme Lord. Both are meant to be engaged in his service. One who understands this relationship, that these two Brahman are his energy, Supreme Lord's energy, these two Brahman should be engaged in his service for his pleasure. When he comes to this stage, he is called as Jivan Mukta, or liberated within this body. So now coming to the verse. When you see that there is nothing beyond these modes of nature in all activities, and that the Supreme Lord is transcendental to these modes, then you can know my spiritual nature. So when living entity understands, Jiva understands, oh, all my activities are performed within the scope of three modes, which are binding. And why three modes? Because I am enjoying the three modes. Right? Purusha Prakriti Stohi Bhungte Prakriti Jan Gunan. Bhungte means he is enjoying. So when he understands that there is influence of different modes, Satoguna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna, under the influence of these modes, I am trying to enjoy the material elements, the material nature. I am trying to lord it over other living entities under the influence of these modes. I am trying to lord it over material objects under the influence of these three modes. I am trying to lord it over the situations, circumstances around me under the influence of three modes. I am totally gripped under these three modes. When he understands this and he understands above these there is a supreme, transcendental supreme Lord whom I am supposed to serve. He is my Lord, he is my controller, he is my master, Maheshwara. Then his activities will stop under the influence of three modes and enter into the transcendental realm. So one who understands this difference, in what way, what kind of activities I am engaged in, what kind of activities I am supposed to do, then his Sankhya philosophy or understanding of Sankhya is complete or proper. Right? So when you see that there is nothing beyond these modes of nature in all activities, and that the Supreme Lord is transcendental to all these modes, then you can know my spiritual nature. So for this careful understanding of Sankhya philosophy is needed. So one has to understand. Therefore, Lord Kapila, in the previous chapters we had heard, devotional service performed under Tamoguna, devotional service performed under Rajoguna, devotional service performed under Sattva, and pure transcendental loving devotional service, which is beyond these three modes, uninfluenced by these three modes. So why Lord has described these? Even in our devotional service, there is a tendency of coming under the influence of three modes and performing service. So it may appear like devotional service, but there is influence of three modes. That's why Uttam Bhakti is explained as Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. One should be free from Jnana and Karma. So what is freedom from Jnana and Karma? Karma means to derive some benefit from devotional service, right? Material benefit from devotional service. If I do this much for Lord, in return, what will I get? I want some enjoyment. I want some, return, some name, fame, some profit out of it, some benefit out of it. This is called karma. So one who is under the influence of three modes, whether satogun, rajogun, or tamogun, all three are material modes. Even the satoguna is very peaceful, it is full of knowledge, enlightenment, but satoguna is also binding, because satoguna also binds the person to sattvic material pleasure. He starts deriving that kind of pleasure from it. ठीक है, rajoguna is anyway rajasic pleasure and tamoguna is tamasic pleasure, but satoguna also has a tinge of material pleasure. That's why satoguna is not pure. Shuddha sattva is pure goodness. Transcendental stage is called as pure goodness. So, if satoguna is called satoguna, but it is not pure goodness, then what is the impurity? Satvaguna also has impurity of rajo and tamo. It has little touch of rajoguna and tamoguna, even in satoguna. That's why it's called just satoguna. Transcendental service is called as shuddha sattva, means goodness in its pure state. So what is that rajogun and tamogun mixed in sattvagun? So in 14th chapter, Lord explains the gunas. O sinless one, the mode of goodness being purer than others. So it is explained as purer than others, not the purest of all, or it's not the completely pure. Better than others, purer than others is sattvagun. Is illuminating, and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mood develop knowledge, but they become conditioned by the concept of happiness. So it binds by two things. One is development of knowledge, material knowledge, and second is the concept of happiness. How it binds? Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport. A man in the mode of goodness is not so much affected by material miseries, and he has a sense of advancement in material knowledge. The representative type is the Brahmana, who is supposed to be situated in the mode of goodness. This sense of happiness is due to the understanding in the mode of goodness that in the mode of goodness one is more or less free from sinful reactions. Actually, in the Vedic literature, it is said that the mode of goodness means greater knowledge and a greater sense of happiness. The effect of developing the mode of goodness in the material world is that one becomes wiser and those otherwise conditioned. So, a person in mode of goodness, he knows papa and punya. He does not engage in sinful activities, he engages in pious activities. So, he has a knowledge of what to do, what not to do. Right? So he has a knowledge of what to do, what not to do. So because of his knowledge, he engages in pious activities only. By engaging in pious activities, he increases his punya. By increasing his punya, he gets a better life, and he gets attached to that enjoyment of better life. This is the contamination of sattvagun. Right? The difficulty here is that when a living entity is situated in mode of goodness, he becomes conditioned to feel that he is advanced in knowledge and is better than others. In this way, he becomes conditioned. The best examples are the scientist and philosopher. Each is very proud of his knowledge, and because they generally improve their living conditions, they feel a sort of material happiness. This sense of advanced happiness in conditioned life makes them bound by the mode of goodness of material nature. And as such, they are attracted toward working in the mode of goodness. And as long as they have an attraction for working in that way, they have to take some type of body in the material nature, in the modes of nature, right? Thus, there is no likelihood of liberation or being transferred to the spiritual world. So, like this, even though one may be very nice person, very learned person, educated person, right? But if he gets attached to his learning, he gets attached to his sattvic life, his comfortable life, right? The happiness is deriving out of sattva guna. Oh, it's a pure existence. No, more or less, no rajoguna, no tamoguna. And he feels elevated, illuminated, but still he has a tendency of enjoying. This is rajoguna. Rajoguna means the tendency to enjoy, right? Enjoy. So what is he enjoying? He's enjoying a higher standard of life. So he's enjoying a higher standard of sense pleasure. Enjoyment of sense pleasure is called rajogun. So despite being in satogun in this material creation, a person is attached to sense enjoyment of higher standard, purer sense enjoyment. Right. So instead of enjoying taste, tarrat, spicy, oily food, he will enjoy little ghee and nice halwa. Correct? He'll enjoy A2 cow's milk. He'll enjoy that kind of, mango. Instead of putting too much chili and enjoying, he will enjoy that kind. But he is nevertheless enjoying sattvic. Sense enjoyment is there, right? Sense enjoyment is there. Instead of enjoying, rock and roll music, he'll enjoy classical music. So, but enjoyment is there in Sattvagun. So, Sattvagun is contaminated by Rajogun because enjoyer tendency is still prevalent in the Sattvic person. Sattvagun is also contaminated by Tamogun. How? Tamogun means ignorance, no knowledge. He forgets he is part and parcel of Krishna and he engages in his own activity. Instead of serving Krishna with pure devotional service, he is in ignorance of his duty towards the Supreme Lord. So that is his ignorance, that is Ajnana, that is Tamogun. So in this way, Sattvagun in this material world is contaminated by Rajogun, that is enjoyership, and Tamogun, that is ignorance of the constitutional position, being servant of Krishna. In our devotional service, sometimes we have a tendency of being enjoyer. I want to enjoy something, right? I want to enjoy something for my pleasure. Then devotional service becomes contaminated by Rajogun. And sometimes because of this enjoyer tendency, I want to enjoy, we forget we are meant to serve Krishna. One very nice quote of Prabhupada's, a very famous quote. We are neither enjoyers nor renouncers. We are simply servants of Krishna. Right? We are neither enjoyers nor renouncers. We are simply servants of Krishna. So if Krishna wants us to, engage in something, to own something or to utilize something, we utilize. We don't reject anything. But at the same time, when we utilize something, some benefit, some facility, we don't tend to enjoy that benefit or facility. Whenever benefit or facility is there, it is to enhance my devotional service, to serve the Supreme Lord better. So in this way, a devotee sees all the provisions given by Lord, all the facilities given by Lord as instruments for enhancing his service to the Lord. So who is supposed to enjoy with these facilities? Lord is supposed to enjoy. I can do better service with better facilities, more enriched service, more variegated service, more finer service for the Lord. Right? So whenever we have some facility, some feature in our devotional life, it is meant to enhance or increase our service, improve the quality of our service, improve the intensity of our service for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. This is to be understood. So now coming back to Sankhya philosophy, Lord is telling in the 14th chapter, one who understands this right? One who understands this aspect, that all activities we are doing are contaminated or influenced by three modes, and one who understands that Supreme Lord is transcendental to all these, then he will understand that I am not supposed to engage with the material nature, but I am supposed to engage in the service of the Supreme Lord. He becomes Jivan Mukta. So while residing within this body, he is liberated. When the embodied being is able to transcend these three modes, he can become free from birth, death, old age, and their distresses, and can enjoy nectar even in this life. Purport. Now, purport of what forms the basis of Sankhya philosophy. How one can stay in the transcendental position even in this body, in full Krishna consciousness, is explained in this verse. Within this body, how one can become fully Krishna conscious. That is explained in this verse, which is what Lord Kapila explained to Mother Devahuti. And while being in the same body, Mother Devahuti became liberated, free from all doubts, like all misconceptions of devotional service and transcendental life. The Sanskrit word Dehi means embodied. Although one is within this material body, by his advancement in spiritual knowledge, he can be free from the influence of the modes of nature. By the advancement in spiritual knowledge. Right? What is that spiritual knowledge? Lord is explained in the Jnana Chakshu section of 13th chapter. Right? Okay. He can enjoy the happiness of spiritual life even in this body, because after leaving this body he is certainly going to the spiritual sky. But even in this body he can enjoy spiritual happiness. In other words, devotional service in Krishna consciousness is the sign of liberation from this material entanglement, and this will be explained in the 18th chapter. When one is freed from the influence of the modes of material nature, he enters into devotional service. So, here Lord is explaining, Srila Prabhupada is explaining in the purport that, in other words, devotional service in Krishna consciousness is a sign of liberation from this material entanglement. And this will be explained in 18th chapter. So, in 18th chapter it is told, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktin labte param. So, how does one identify while living within this body he is free from the influence of three modes? So, those characteristics, how will I identify that yes, I have become free from three modes even while within this body? Then that is explained in Brahma Bhuta verse. Na shochati na kankshati. He is not anxious. Right? So what is that anxiety? Shochati. Shochati means you have got something and you lost it, you lament for that object. Okay. So something is lost. You lost some money, you lost some phone, something you have lost. And you become anxious. You lament over it. Oh, what a big loss has happened. What will I do? Sometimes people, they're going in Mumbai local train and somebody will pick their pocket. They've lost their card, Aadhaar card, voter ID card, credit card, they lost some cash, they lament. So that lamentation of losing. Brahma Bhuta is free from such lamentation. That does not mean he will not search for the object. He will search for it, but he will not lament. Right? So first characteristic is, while within this body one is free from influence of three modes. First characteristic is one does not lament over loss. Okay. He is not overstricken by grief or loss. So sixth chapter explains Guru Napina Vichalyate. Even in the gravest, deepest sorrows, he is not disturbed. So how those gravest or deepest sorrows are explained? Death of some near dear one, he is not disturbed. That is one loss. Loss of health is one loss. Right? Somebody's health is deteriorating or somebody is very sick. He is not disturbed. He is not affected. Isn't it? Then unfavorable circumstances or hardships are coming. Sometimes weather climate is not good. Sometimes some other situation is not good. The environment is not good. He is not disturbed. So there is some discomfort is there, some loss is there. He is not disturbed by these things. So that means he is free from three modes of nature. Then na kankshati, he is not hankering after any material thing. He is not hankering for some facility, some provision, some object that if I possess this, if I own this, I'll be happy. Without this, I'm not happy. So he's not hankering for anything. That means while living in this body, he is free from the influence of three modes. He is free from lamentation, he is free from hankering. Na shochati, na kankshati. Sometimes it happens in our devotional service. We want something and you know we are not provided by the authorities that particular thing. We become upset, we become morose. We start hankering for it and we become upset or sad. Oh, I am not getting this, I am not getting that. But devotional service actually is not dependent on those things. Devotional service is dependent on obedience, the attitude of the performer or the devotee. What we should be worried about is my I am not losing my proper attitude for this object. Proper attitude is to accept, right? To be satisfied. Yadcha labha santushto, to be satisfied with whatever comes on its own accord. To be satisfied with whatever has been given in service of the Lord. So, more than not having the object, one should be worried about not having the proper attitude. But we worry more about the object. I want that object. Otherwise, my attitude will be sad attitude. Then we are not Jivan Mukta. We are still hankering. It is disturbing our consciousness. We are not satisfied. We are not peaceful in devotional service. That means we are not placing Krishna in our consciousness. We are placing that object in our consciousness and it is triggering. It is disturbing. So, being in this body, this verse is very important. Although we think Brahma Bhuta means, okay, Brahman liberated person. But without being Brahman liberated, Mad Bhakti Labte Param will not happen. So, na shochati, na kankshati. He is prasannatma, right? He thinks that enjoyment in devotional service, he is satisfied within, he is illuminated within, right? He is satisfied with his connection with the Supreme Lord. He is satisfied with the service he is getting to render to the Supreme Lord. The satisfaction of a devotee, fifth chapter very nicely explains what is the happiness of a transcendentalist. Lord Krishna says, give up all material happiness. One should not, a knowledgeable person, a wise man, does not engage in material happiness. So, what is the happiness of a transcendentalist or a wise man? Before, an intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and end, so the wise man does not delight in them. Right? For the whole world, happiness comes from sense objects, isn't it? For the whole world, happiness comes from sense objects. Everybody is engaged in pleasing his senses. But a wise man, an intelligent man, does not engage in sense object happiness, sense pleasure. That means there is no happiness. No. Then Lord explains what is his actual happiness. One whose happiness is within, who is active within, who rejoices within and is illumined within, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme and ultimately he attains the Supreme. So, what is going on within is his connection with the Supreme Lord. In Sthit Pragya section, Lord explains this that he is satisfied in the self alone. He is satisfied in the self means he is satisfied in the Supreme Self, Supreme Lord. He is happy with his every moment, his every opportunity is in the service of the Lord. That is his happiness. Not in what he has or what he is not having. So that does not bother him. Whatever he has, he engages in Supreme Lord's service with that. And is happy that my every moment, my every bit of energy is engaged in the service of Supreme Lord. If one is happy this way, he is called Prasannatma. Not worried about losing some material thing or hankering for some material thing. And the third thing is Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu. If somebody does not feel friendly with every living entity, at least he should not feel inimical towards any living entity. samah sarveshu bhuteshu. Because friendship and enmity both come due to material attachment or aversion. That is three modes. I like this person, I don't like this person, I hate this person, I am envious of this person, based on material modes. But one who is Brahma Bhuta, he sees every living entity as part and parcel of Krishna, influenced by three modes. He is acting, but he is part and parcel of Krishna. Right? So he does not develop any attachment towards any living entity. He does not develop any aversion towards any living entity. Samah sarveshu bhuteshu. By observing these three characteristics, prasannatma, na shochati na kanchati, and samah sarveshu bhuteshu, one can understand even while within this life, within this body, he is liberated or not. So liberation is not physical transfer to the spiritual world. Liberation is coming to Krishna consciousness. One who is fully Krishna conscious like this, he is just waiting to quit his body. That's all. When time comes, I'll leave this body and go. Till then, I'll serve Krishna within this body. So, service to Krishna is not a physical action. Oh, I'm in this body, how will I serve Krishna? Krishna takes our mental service also. Krishna takes our intellectual service also. Right? So Krishna accepts all services. Smaranam, Kirtanam, Shravanam, these are also services to Lord. Right? And any one of these is perfect. Even if somebody is mentally remembering Krishna in devotional service, transcendently, lovingly remembering Krishna, Krishna takes it as a service. So service has never stopped even while in this body. Oh, I am in this material world. I am not in Goloka. How can I serve Krishna? By being in Goloka through this consciousness, one can be serving Krishna completely, fully. Oh, there is no lacking in service. Right? So we are trapped in this body, but while being trapped in this body, one has to aspire for getting liberated within this body itself. This is subject matter what Lord Kapila has taught in Sankhya Darshan. And Mother Devahuti understood this subject matter. So immediately her misconceptions, her misgivings about all she became freed from all ignorance concerning devotional service and transcendental knowledge. Right? And this is the basis of devotional service. This is the basic principle of devotional service. Prasannatma na shochiti na kanchati sama sarveshu bhuteshu. Otherwise, if we are not in this platform, if we have not attained this platform, our devotional service is mixed with three modes. Right? Based on three modes, we'll be hankering, lamenting, will be disturbed by situations, will be attached to material things, will be judging or discriminating between people based on these three modes. Right? Our devotional service will be still contaminated, we will not attain the stage of pure devotional service. So this is subject matter that Lord Kapila taught in his Sankhya philosophy. So we'll stop here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Vishwa Guru Prabhupada ki jai.